Brick Lane, a centre of London that is a true example of all the different aspects that surround us here. From religious and cultural history to the street art that is a sign of the city's cultural future, Brick Lane is a true landmark and a memorable part of London.
Let's take a look. Brick Lane has been a safe haven for migrants and others who did not fit into the London lifestyle. Huguenots and Ashkenazi Jews have lived in the area, along with the Bangladeshi migrants who currently dominate the area. Most of the buildings in the area have been repurposed multiple times, but most notably the Brick Lane Mosque, which has cycled through many different religious identities since it was built in 1742 as the Nueve Église. Next, it was a synagogue in 1898, and finally a mosque in 1976.
But we want to focus on the area's street art. We think it has a lot to say about the area's cultural influences and the people who live there. The history of London street art goes back to the 1980s when graffiti and tagging became popular in poorer areas such as Brixton and East London. London was experiencing constant influence and exchange with New York City, where hip-hop and urban graffiti culture became popular. Taggers and graffiti artists in London soon started imitating those in New York City and practiced tagging their street names on both public and private properties. The spray paint can revolutionized this movement as it made it easier for taggers to make their mark and experiment with different colors and textures.
The movement changed in the 1990s when artist Banksy decided to come to Brick Lane and East London to use its environment and buildings as canvases for street art. He displayed works that conveyed political messages and deeper meanings rather than just street names and made use of the rundown buildings to support his artwork. Other artists around the world were highly influenced by Banksy's work in East London and soon came to the same area to display their own works. This movement transformed the area and reflected the urban cultural movement in which highly populated areas with a minority makeup and countercultural influences used free expression to convey their views on society, politics, and the issues they lived with. Street art evidently is now a main form of free expression in these communities. Brick Lane is the most famous and populated spot due to its rich cultural history and rundown building structures. The rise of street art in Brick Lane has brought a new wave of visitors over to the area, including a wealthier crowd and young hipsters. This is changing the makeup and energy of Brick Lane as it is becoming extremely popular and higher-end stores are opening to match hipster tastes and culture. Brick Lane is an interesting mix between the deep ethnic identity which drives its history and the new wave of hipsters and artists who use the area as their canvas. Brick Lane in East London is a progressive and unique area that serves as a hub for alternative artists, musicians, and hipsters. It is an ever-changing area with a rich history of immigrant communities and outcasts living in the area.
With its increasing popularity in hipster culture, Brick Lane is slowly experiencing gentrification. The appeal of street art and hip vintage clothing stores attract a wealthier crowd that often fills the area. Street art in the area is being commercialized and famous artists are paid commission to showcase and produce work. The arts culture in Brick Lane, originally focused on its ethnic and counterculture identity, is now becoming a more hip and commercialized scene. Artwork in the area still thrives to incorporate the surrounding environment and culture, but financial incentives are clearly present as global recognition of Brick Lane art is rapidly rising. An idea that pushed the rise of street art was that it was free for all and away from gallery owners and elite parties. This added to the atmosphere of nonconformism in East London at the time, as the area was not particularly wealthy, well-kept, or attractive to outside visitors. Street art provided another level to the juxtaposition between urban cultural centers and wealthy areas in central London.
Only time can tell what the atmosphere in the area will be like in the future. For now, it is still the main hub for street art in London, which attracts visitors from all over the world to see famous works from different artists. Though street art has been accepted by many as a positive addition to London's urban culture, certain issues arise as the phenomenon goes on.
Of these mysterious artists, perhaps the most famous and praised is Banksy. Not much is known about Banksy other than the fact that he's from Bristol, England. He entered the street art game in 1992 and is seen as the father of street art who changed the culture forever. He brought international attention to street art as a way to communicate political messages. His presence in East London inspired a whole movement of street art that strayed away from tagging and graffiti. He now works all around the world and enjoys keeping his followers and critics on their toes, always wondering where he will go next. Banksy influenced other artists to come to London and work in East London and beyond.
Ein is another street artist from London. Ein is most notable for his alphabet lettering on shop shutters in London's Brick Lane, Shoreditch, and Broadway Market. His work is an example of commercialization of street art, as famous artists begin to take commission for their work. Before the movement was about free art for all and remaining anonymous, but some artists choose to hire representatives in order to sell work and get hired to paint for companies. One more artist, Stick, is known for painting stick figure-like people in his street art. He was formerly homeless and as a result went around London and painted these stick figures until he gained recognition and opened a gallery of his art. After becoming famous and earning commission, Stick started traveling around the world to promote his unique art.
With street art becoming a commodity and the high increase in housing costs, Brick Lane is struggling to survive as a cultural symbol while international corporations and high-end hipster culture takes over.